Hi everyone. Now let's discuss topic 3 of Unit 3, threat modeling. Threat modeling is a structured process used in cybersecurity to identify, evaluate, and address potential security threats to a system. Its main goal is to proactively find weaknesses before attackers do. In simple words, it's like planning ahead for possible attacks by mapping out what could go wrong and how we can stop it. Some common methodologies include STRIDE, PASTA, and OCTAVE, each helping organizations analyze threats from different perspectives. An important concept here is the attack surface, meaning all possible entry points that attackers can use. To make this clear, let's look at some exam-focused questions. 2-mark questions. Define threat modeling. Mention any 2 objectives of threat modeling. What is an attack surface in threat modeling? Name 2 threat modeling methodologies. What is STRIDE in threat modeling? 10-mark questions. Explain the steps involved in the threat modeling process with a neat diagram. Compare different threat modeling methodologies: STRIDE, PASTA, OCTAVE. What are attack surfaces? How do you identify and reduce them? Describe the role of risk assessment in threat modeling with examples. How does threat modeling help in secure software development lifecycle? SDLC. Definition of threat modeling. Threat modeling is a structured process used in cybersecurity to identify, analyze, and prioritize possible security threats, vulnerabilities, and risks in a system, application, or network. The main goal is to understand what could go wrong, how an attacker might exploit it, and what can be done to stop it. By doing this, organizations can design stronger defenses and fix weaknesses before attackers get a chance to exploit them. In simple words, threat modeling is like thinking like a hacker before a hacker attacks you. Just as a security guard plans for possible ways a thief could enter a building, through the door, window, or roof, cybersecurity professionals use threat modeling to plan for all the ways attackers could target their systems. Example: imagine a bank's online application. During threat modeling, the security team may ask questions like, what if an attacker tries to guess customer passwords? Solution: enable multi-factor authentication. What if someone tries to inject malicious code into the website? Solution: input validation and firewalls. What if an employee accidentally clicks on a phishing email? Solution: conduct awareness training. By identifying these threats early, the bank can strengthen its defenses and protect customer data. So, threat modeling helps organizations stay one step ahead of attackers by planning effective security measures in advance. Objectives of threat modeling. The main objective of threat modeling is to identify possible security threats early in the development process. By analyzing a system during its design or development phase, organizations can detect weak points before attackers exploit them. For example, if an e-commerce website identifies that its login page is vulnerable to brute force attacks, it can add features like account lockouts or CAPTCHA before going live. Another important goal is to understand the attacker's perspective. This means thinking like a hacker: what parts of the system they would target, what data is valuable, and how they might try to exploit it. For instance, hackers might aim at customer credit card data in an online shopping platform, so security teams must plan to protect payment systems more strictly. Threat modeling also helps to prioritize risks. Not all vulnerabilities are equally dangerous, so organizations need to focus on the ones that can cause maximum damage. For example, a misconfigured firewall that exposes sensitive data is more critical than a minor user interface bug. This prioritization ensures that the most harmful threats are fixed first. A further objective is to improve the overall security posture of the system. By applying preventive measures, such as strong authentication or detective measures like intrusion detection systems, the system becomes stronger and more resilient to attacks. For example, adding multi-factor authentication, MFA, can significantly reduce the risk of unauthorized access. Another benefit of threat modeling is cost-effective security. Fixing vulnerabilities after an attack is much more expensive than preventing them beforehand. For example, if a banking system prevents SQL injection attacks during development, it avoids not only financial losses, but also reputational damage later. Threat modeling also helps to enhance incident response. By predicting possible attack scenarios, organizations can prepare recovery plans in advance. For instance, if a healthcare system expects ransomware threats, it can prepare regular data backups to restore systems quickly in case of an attack. Lastly, threat modeling ensures compliance with industry standards and regulations. Many industries, such as banking and healthcare, must follow strict security guidelines like GDPR, HIPAA, or PCI DSS. Threat modeling helps organizations stay compliant by identifying gaps and ensuring security requirements are met. In threat modeling, the first important concept is assets. Assets are the things that an organization values and wants to protect. These could be customer information, financial records, intellectual property, or even the company's reputation. If attackers gain access to or damage these assets, the organization may suffer serious consequences. Another key concept is threats. Threats are the potential dangers or harmful events that could target assets. For example, hackers trying to steal sensitive data, viruses spreading in the system, or unauthorized users gaining access are all threats. Threats are basically what could go wrong. Along with threats, there are vulnerabilities. A vulnerability is a weakness or flaw in a system that makes it easier for a threat to succeed. For instance, using weak passwords, leaving software unpatched, or misconfiguring firewalls creates opportunities for attackers to exploit. If there were no vulnerabilities, threats would have little chance of causing harm. The next concept is the attack surface. This refers to all the possible points through which an attacker can try to enter or affect the system. Examples include login pages, APIs, database connections, or even physical access to servers. The larger the attack surface, the more opportunities attackers have to strike. So reducing it is an important part of security. Finally, we come to risk. Risk is the possibility of a threat exploiting a vulnerability and the level of damage it may cause. It is usually measured by considering both the likelihood of the attack happening and the impact it could have. For example, if sensitive customer data is stored without encryption, the risk is very high because a hacker can easily steal it, leading to financial loss, reputational damage, and legal consequences. Steps in threat modeling. The first step in threat modeling is identifying assets. Assets are the most valuable resources in a system that need protection, such as user data, financial information, intellectual property, or even the system's availability. For example, in an online banking application, customer account details and transaction data are important assets that must be safeguarded. The second step is to create an architecture overview, which usually involves drawing a data flow diagram, DFD. A DFD shows how data moves through the system, including where it is stored, processed, and transmitted. For example, in a shopping website, data flows from the user's browser to the web server, then to the payment gateway and database. This helps in visualizing weak points where data could be intercepted or altered. The third step is to decompose the application or system into smaller parts. This means breaking down the system into its individual components, such as databases, APIs, authentication modules, and user interfaces. For example, in a mobile app, the login screen, backend server, and payment API are separate components that can each be analyzed for vulnerabilities. The fourth step is to identify threats using categories like STRIDE. STRIDE stands for spoofing, pretending to be someone else, tampering, changing data, repudiation, denying an action, information disclosure, leaking data, denial of service, making the system unavailable, and elevation of privilege, gaining unauthorized access. For example, spoofing can occur if a hacker pretends to be a valid user, while denial of service can happen if attackers flood a website with traffic to make it crash. The fifth step is to assess risks, where each identified threat is analyzed for its likelihood and potential impact. This helps prioritize which threats to fix first. For example, the risk of a password brute force attack might be high, while the chance of a rare insider attack might be lower, so the organization should focus first on securing login attempts. The sixth step is to mitigate threats by planning and applying security measures. Common methods include strong authentication, encryption, input validation, firewalls, and secure coding practices. For example, to prevent information disclosure, sensitive data, such as passwords, should be stored in encrypted form rather than plain text. Finally, The seventh step is to document and review. All findings, risks, and security measures should be recorded so that future teams can refer to them. Threat modeling is not a one-time process. It should be reviewed and updated regularly, especially when new features are added or threats evolve. For example, a company may review its threat model every 6 months or whenever it introduces a new payment option. Please have a look at common threat modeling methodologies. Benefits of threat modeling. Threat modeling provides several benefits to organizations by helping them identify risks early in the software development lifecycle. SDLC. Detecting security issues at the design or planning stage saves time and money because fixing problems later, after development or deployment, is usually much more costly. It also helps in meeting compliance requirements such as GDPR, HIPAA, or PCI-DSS, which mandates secure handling of user data. Another important benefit is that it spreads security awareness among developers, testers, and stakeholders. When everyone thinks like an attacker, they build stronger defenses from the start. For example, if developers know about SQL injection threats early, they can use secure coding practices right away instead of patching vulnerabilities later. Challenges in threat modeling. Although threat modeling is powerful, it does come with challenges. One major challenge is that it requires security expertise. Not all developers or project managers may be trained to identify complex threats. Another challenge is time. Large systems with many components may take weeks to fully analyze. Additionally, systems are not static. They keep evolving with new features, updates, and integrations. This means the threat model must be updated regularly, which requires continuous effort. For instance, if a banking app adds a new loan approval feature, the threat model must be revised to check for risks related to loan data manipulation or fraud. Example, threat modeling in a banking app. Let us take the example of a mobile banking application. The assets here include user account details, personal information, and financial transactions. Some possible threats are credential theft through phishing, spoofing, or data tampering using SQL injection attacks. The system may have vulnerabilities like a weak password policy, for example, allowing short or common passwords, or lack of input validation in forms. To mitigate these risks, the bank can enforce strong authentication methods such as multi-factor authentication, use prepared statements to prevent SQL injection, and apply encryption to protect sensitive data during storage and transmission. This ensures that even if attackers try to exploit weaknesses, the damage is minimized. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe.